I am a sucker for a good sales pitch. And I remember when I was in preacher school, this was after I graduated college, and I went down to Fort Worth and lived there for a while. Wendy and I were down there, and I was learning to do this job. And a friend of mine that I sat next to in Hebrew language class said, "Hey, would you like to have lunch with me today?" And I was like really taken aback. I was like, wow, somebody's really working hard to make a connection with me and take me to lunch. I thought it was really cool. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to. And he goes, "My treat." And I'm like, even better. I don't have to pay for lunch. And at that point, we were looking for like Taco Tuesday specials all the time because times were hard. And so I was like, man, free lunch? And we went to one of my favorite places I got to pick. We went to Chipotle. And man, I had the largest burrito, and I was making my way through that thing, and I was having a good time. And then he said, "Look, friend, I have an amazing opportunity for you." My heart sunk a little bit at that point because I was like, this was not to be my friend. This was to sell me something. And I thought like he had a product he wanted me to buy, but instead it was a website. He wanted to sell me a website. Websites were still kind of pretty newish in technology back then. I mean, they'd been around for a while, but like sales websites that you could own were kind of new. And he told me about this amazing thing. It's not like anything has ever existed, and this is going to be the new big thing. And I could get in for only a small fee, and then I needed to recruit people underneath me, and they would also, all the sales on their websites would also go up to me. And I said, "This sounds a lot like Amway." He's like, no, this is nothing like Amway, because that's the only word I knew for whatever that is at that point. And this had been in like 2002. And so he was like, no, nothing like Amway. And so I read through his little materials. He gave me cassette tapes to listen to because that was still a thing. And then come to find out it was Amway, just selling it online. It was online Amway. And I said, "These are the Amway products." And he was like, "Well, yeah, we use them as our distributor." And I'm like, oh, this is just getting worse and worse and worse. And so kind of what I came to at that point is, obviously I said, no, thank you. I went on to sell long distance. But anyway, let's not go over that. Let's not go over that, all right? But all that to say, nobody likes sales pitches, right? I mean, we all kind of get that. Anybody ever ask you out to dinner and then come to find out it wasn't really just for dinner? It was, we have this amazing opportunity, and you're just like, come on, man. And so nobody likes that, but everybody needs a friend. And that's kind of the big idea that I landed on for the first part of what I want to talk about today, is that nobody likes to be sold something, even something we need maybe. I mean, we just don't like that feeling of being sold something, because we tend to think that people, and they often don't, have our best interests in mind. But if I contrast that with when someone shares something they love, and last week I kind of keyed in on this. I started talking about things you're passionate about. But when you have something you love, whether it's, your hobby, or it's just you found a really good place with chips and salsa that's free, whatever that looks like for you, when you find something really cool, you like to share that with others. And here's the flip side. Last week I focused on you sharing that, right? This week I want to flip that and say, people receive that really well. When you're not getting a kickback, when it's not commission-based selling, right? When you don't own the place, or your cousin owns the place, but you're just sharing something that you found that you loved, and you share that with me, I receive that well. Now, I may go and say, that's the worst chips and salsa I've ever had, or I didn't like that movie at all. But it doesn't reflect negatively on our relationship. It's just something that you liked that I didn't like. But if I do like it, woo, all of a sudden we've got stuff to talk about, right? And we're going to nerd out about this thing. We're going to go really deep into this, and this is awesome. We're going to get all of our friends to go to this, because that's something that we've found we shared in common. But did you notice the difference there? Think about those two setups. I want to sell you something because I'm getting benefit out of it, versus I want to share this with you because I like it and I think you might too. I'm inviting you into that space. Most of you don't know this place, but this was one of my most popular hangouts when I was a high school teenager. And that is Starbase 21 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A friend of mine introduced me to this place and introduced me to the entire world of comic books. I had not been a comic book collector, but my best friend in high school, one Saturday, we went to Tulsa, as we did sometimes, and he took me to Starbase 21. And it smelled so bad in there. I don't know, it was like this mix of like old books and hygiene problems and just all kind of together with this nerd body of people just all hunched over these big white boxes with just tons of comics in them, just pouring over them. And I remember going and looking, and I found a comic book I really liked that I still like to this day. It was in the Marvel family, and I pulled it out, and I couldn't believe how much it was. Like, the list price on it was $1.25, but the value they described to it was $50. And I was like, I don't have $50. That's a lot of money. And I thought, wow, that is so crazy that something could go up in value. And that's why everybody's kind of hunched over these and reading these books and into the comics and everything. And so we would go back time and again. Sometimes we would go to the state fair barns at the Tulsa State Fair because there would be distributors out there selling comics. But I got really into comics, and this was a passion of my friend, not of me at all to that point. But he shared his hobby with me. He shared his passion with me. And I didn't get into the same exact comics. He liked a lot of different kinds of comics than I liked, but we liked comics together. And I still love them to this day. And what I tell you that story is to say, when we share something like that with someone, and we find this kind of no pressure, he wasn't like, you have to like comics or I'm not going to be your friend. It was just like, hey, this is something I'm into. And when someone shares something with genuine passion and hospitality in mind and invites us into something, we receive it a lot differently. We receive it well. Even if it's not our thing, we still are like, thank you for sharing your passion with me. Because it also opens up a reciprocal relationship where I now feel free to share things I'm passionate about with you. And we find common ground. My friend shared, and there was zero pressure to be interested in it. Here it is, you're invited. But unfortunately, sometimes when we talk about church or Jesus or God or prayer or anything kind of faith or spiritual based, we feel this weird kind of pressure holding us back from sharing. And we feel this kind of, what if I get it wrong? What if I say the wrong words? Do I know enough? What if they say they're not interested in the world, right? We think of those things, but we think of it so much differently than if you were sharing a restaurant. We would never think of that when we're sharing a restaurant. We would never feel that kind of pressure. Like, I found this new place that I really think has good hamburgers, and I share that with you. And you're like, I don't like hamburgers. And we're like, okay, cool, next topic. That's it. There's no weird pressure on me. There's no weird feeling. But for some reason, when I share about, man, I love what my church is doing. I love being active in the community. I love that we're doing this homeless thing. I love that, new people are coming in and we're seeing people baptized. I love sharing God's love and peace and mercy and grace with people. And I think you'd like it too. Something holds us back from saying those words sometimes, even though just me saying them, it's flowing so easily. And it's exactly the truth of why I love what we do and who we are and what we're all about. But there's something that kind of holds us back. And I think maybe planted in our mind is that we think it's about performance. We think, I've got to perform. I've got to do something here. I've got to cause something to happen, when nothing could be further from the truth. Just like no one's expecting you to run in the back of the restaurant and make the hamburgers you're recommending, no one is expecting you to make something happen. It's just an invitation. It's just inviting someone that you know that feels like God's not for them, or feels like church is not about them or for them, or feels like, Jesus is far from them, and inviting them into a space where they can hopefully encounter God. But you don't have any performance to do there. I want to share with you a story in the New Testament that I think really, really highlights this well. And it's in Luke chapter 5. And there, I kind of alluded to it last Sunday. I said, I told you this was coming. This story is, I think, crucial. I'm going to tell you this story fully today from Luke 5, and then I'm going to repeat this exact story on September the 21st. That's our Back to Church Sunday, because I think it's so powerful. And I've read this story before. It's not new to me. It's not like, oh, I never saw that before in the scriptures, right? But the implications are completely new for me. I hit a new point of understanding with this story that I hope to bring to you over the next few weeks, because I think there's something here that I have missed for a long time, and maybe some of you have missed, and maybe if we could capture the sense of what was happening here, we could be a part of this just like they were in the early church. So Luke chapter 5, beginning in verse 27, and I'm just going to read to verse 32 because that's kind of the natural delineation of this part of the scriptures here. Jesus is talking, and it says in verse 27, as Jesus left the town, he saw a tax collector named Levi sitting at his tax collector's booth. And Jesus says to him, these are the red words in my Bible and probably in yours too. It says, "Follow me and be my disciple," Jesus said to him. And the Bible records that Jesus immediately, Levi got up, left everything, and followed him. He left his job. He walked off of having that anymore, and he just followed Jesus to be his disciple. Verse 29 gets really interesting. This is Levi's response. Levi holds a banquet in his home with Jesus as the guest of honor. And many of Levi's fellow tax collectors, these would be people far from God, skeptics, people got nothing to do with God, and other guests also ate with them. But the Pharisees and their teachers of religious law complained bitterly to Jesus' disciples. "Why do you eat and drink with this scum?" And Jesus answered them, "Healthy people don't need a doctor. Sick people do. I've come to call not those who think they are righteous, but those who know they are sinners and need to repent." This Levi later would be called Matthew. And what's so cool here is I have focused, when I've taught this before, on Jesus is the great physician, and he's saying, "I've not come for the healthy, I've come for the sick," and I focused in on that. And I kind of I don't know if you do this sometimes like me, but sometimes when I'm reading a part of text like that, I'll skip over the middle part thinking it's, just like a donut, it's the empty middle, and I got to get, the beginning's very important, and then the end's very important, but I don't think about the middle. And boy, when I went back and really chewed on this middle, I looked at the actions of Levi, because I am not the great physician. I can't do what Jesus does there at the end. I can't say awesome words like he says to those people at the end. But I'm a disciple just like Levi, just like Matthew. And in the middle there, he does something that is shocking a little bit. The religious people hate it, and Levi's friends respond positively, because he doesn't go out starting a class or a Bible study. He doesn't start a school. He doesn't even start a church. He starts a party. He throws a dinner party. Jesus is the guest of honor, and he invites all his friends who are, according to the Pharisees, scum of the earth. He invites all of them in. They respond. They come to the dinner party, and Jesus has an opportunity to share with them about who he is and what he's doing in the world. But Levi opens the door. Levi opens the door for this to happen, because he has an experience with Jesus, and it so impacted him that he wanted to give that to his friends. I think that's very interesting, because once again, if we put it in our context of how do I live out the scriptures here, how do I become a disciple of Jesus, what if what we have thought being faithful to a disciple is, in the past where we've said, well, you should do this and you should do that, what if it's more about hospitality than we ever realized? What if it's about welcoming others more than we ever realized? What if it's about how we talk to people and how we treat people and how we invite them not to come see what we're doing, but to see the guest of honor? And what if my role isn't performance-based at all, but is instead invitation? I am the inviter. And I invite people to come have an experience with Jesus, whether that is to coffee or to lunch or to dinner or to church or out to pizza or whatever. But I'm inviting them into a space to come to understand who God is better. What if it's about the table? Not a church service, not a curriculum, not a study like we've thought in the past, not enrolling in something, but if it's more a circle of friends and we are aware, our awareness is in tune with outsiders and skeptics, just like Levi's friends were, and we invite them to come meet with Jesus. Hospitality was Levi's method. And he throws a party. And look how effective it is. He says, this changed my life. Maybe it'll change yours. Come here. Come and see. Right? That's what we said last week. That invitation last week was come and see. You see for yourself. Levi does the same exact thing. Whenever you start seeing a pattern in Scripture, know that is very important. That must be something that we are really supposed to understand and get. It's not a one-off theory. It's not a one-off time statement. It is over and over this idea of letting others see for themselves. Because, like I said earlier, nobody likes a sales pitch. But everybody needs a friend. And everybody welcomes a friend that will give them recommendations. Do any of you buy anything at all without going to Amazon to check the reviews anymore? I don't. Even if I'm looking at something on another website or a store that I'm going to physically go to, I will go and see what the Amazon people have said. I don't even know any of those people. And half the time I'll be like, well, I'm not buying that. Look what she has to say. She said it's awful. Right? That kind of colors this. But think about this. What if your friend told you about that item? Now all of a sudden, Amazon doesn't matter anymore, does it? Oh, I don't know. Stringbing 1131_8. I don't know that person. Maybe they've got a vendetta against this flashlight company. I don't know. But my friend told me this is really, it saved her life. This flashlight's really awesome. Battery lasts forever. I'm going to go get that flashlight because my friend told me. All that to say, we like recommendations from our friends. And even if I get that flashlight and it hurts my hand and the battery leaks all over me and I'm like, this is a piece of junk. Why did she sell me? String bean was right and my friend was wrong. What's going on here? I'm still not that upset with my friend. She had a good experience with a real thing and it didn't go that way for me. That's okay too. That's how life is. I've had people recommend restaurants to me and I go and I take the first bite and I'm like, bad, rotten, not good. But I wasn't like, I will never talk to you again. Right? That's not how that works. You know how life works. Someone gives you a recommendation for a place they like. Maybe the chef had an off day. Maybe the kitchen, something went wrong. Maybe they were just on a perfect day. Who knows? But my friend and I were still good friends. It's okay to share about those things that I love with my friends and to give those recommendations. And to not do so means that I'm holding back good things from them. And people have done this from time to time. They've kind of made, they'll say like religion's over here and that's a religion thing and, and that's my other life over here. And they try to like compartmentalize these things in really awkward ways. But Jesus addresses that idea in Matthew 5. He says, look, you're the light of the world. You are the light of the world, his people. You're like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden. Let your good deeds shine out for all to see, so that everyone will praise your heavenly Father. If you try to hide it, it's like you're either trying to keep it for yourself, you don't want anyone else to have it, or you're too nervous or anxious about sharing it with others. You've just not let it freely flow like a recommendation would. And he's saying, you're the plan. There is no plan B. You're the plan. You transmitting this good news for every person, you're the plan. You're the light. You're the one that's going to take this to others. You're going to shine in a way that draws people in. You are the plan. And so how do we do that? And this becomes the question, right? I mentioned last week my door-to-door evangelism that didn't go so well when I was a teenager and in college. And that's one way that people thought about doing it for a while. Before that, there was I went back to the Billy Graham Museum outside of Chicago in Wheaton, and there, they show in the early days in America, you had these evangelists on these very tall pulpits, like it would be either in the middle or on the side. And I mean, the pastor would be like up there at the top looking down on you, and it was supposed to evoke this sense of you're tiny, and the word coming at you is very big and large, and so you're supposed to kind of, and I mean, that's where the sermons came out in the early America, sinners in the hands of an angry God, and they were just trying to yell and scream and scare people into making that decision. To a little bit of coercion, right? I read about at the Billy Graham Museum, they were talking about this guy, Billy Sunday, and he had this front row, and if you were looking a little sweaty, he would say, you, come up to the front row, you, come up to the front row, and then he would really give it to the people in the front row. I mean, he would just really go at the people, and he had, the towel or whatever, the hanky he was wiping himself with, and he was just, that was called his decision row. He was like going after those people in that front row. You want me to do that? Is that? That's funny, isn't it? It's funny how things change. How we talk about God. We got to think about that. And so what is Jesus asking us to do here? Let our good deeds shine seems to be more action-based than word-based. Like, more than me telling you how good God is, me showing you how good God is through how I treat you. Because you see, I am struck by the fact that the people that called Levi's friends scum, and Jesus corrected those people, by the way, the people that they were calling scum, those people responded very positively to seeing that invitation. And I'm also struck by the fact that the religious people were very smart, very well educated, knew the scriptures intensely, way better than I do, knew Hebrew way better than I do, right? Brilliant people. Probably followed Old Testament Hebrew Bible law to the letter. And yet, Jesus tells them and schools them in this little small part of the New Testament of how much they've missed the boat. Because with their words, they're glorifying God. And with their actions, they're denying they even know what He is about at all. So, for you and me, what do we do with this? Well, I think it convicts me that our actions are very important, what we do with our deeds and how we treat others and how we welcome others. And if we want to use those deeds to realize that hospitality is how the light can break through the darkness of so many people's lives, people in our neighborhood, students, your classmates, people at work, adults with you, that your coworkers. This is how it breaks through in our families. And so what deeds would that look like? Back in 2015, this image, we put this on the screen for the first time, and we said that everybody does the dishes at Coffee Creek. And I dug this up. I had to go back and look through our archives and find this, because for over 10 years, we've been talking about this idea that every single one of us has a place, and everyone is willing to do the gamut. And as I did dishes here this morning, I was thinking, yeah, that's still really true. That's still really true. I don't ever ask anyone to do anything that I'm not willing to do or haven't done at Coffee Creek, with the asterisks, of course, children's ministry. I'm down here, they're up there, and you could not put me up there. All right, I'm not going. It would not go well. We put the people that are talented in that up there, and then we put other people with them to support them. Yes, and so, but everybody has a role. We don't have a bench at Coffee Creek. We don't have like a second string, as it were. We want to find somewhere for everybody to plug in. Every single person that's willing, at least. Right? We don't want to coerce anyone. We don't want to twist any arms. Man, if you have a desire to connect with others, we want to let you know that there is a place for you. We will figure that out together. And so the practice I want to focus on today, because I think our faith is about practice, how we can practice is that welcome practice, that hospitality practice. That witness, your witness, if you've ever heard that word before, your witness about what God has done in your life, just like Matthew Levi was making his witness, this party he was throwing to introduce others to Jesus, your witness can be hospitality. And opening doors of opportunity for people. Whether you're physically here, opening a door on Sunday morning, or you're opening doors for kids, you're helping them out, you're helping our student ministry out, you're working in worship, whether in the tech part or on the stage here, or you're doing behind-the-scenes work, all of that can create an environment of welcome and hospitality. And so what if how you fulfill what Jesus told us to do, the Great Commission, is different but better than you thought? What if it has less to do with you giving lip service to it and more about you throwing your heart into something, your passion? And what if it has everything to do with doing what Matthew Levi did here, welcoming people, creating space for people? Because if you think about that, that doesn't take a whole lot of training. That doesn't take a whole lot of extra time. That doesn't take a whole lot of sermons or anything. It takes a little bit of courage and some effort on my behalf to actually work with one person and make them feel welcome. invited. To know that this was not just for us today, that we had them in mind, that we were planning on someone this being the very first Sunday here. Like, everything we do is centered on that idea that we want people to feel welcome, because that's how God feels about them. And so we're trying our best to align our very imperfect hearts with his perfect love and mercy and grace for them, that he wants to shower them with. And in our human imperfection, we're trying our best to make sure that message is transmitted, to make sure that is shown in a practical way. There's a card in your seat today called the Multiply card. And literally what we're trying to do is multiply my efforts, Ben's efforts in worship, Jessica's efforts with kids ministry, our student life leaders with student ministry. We're trying to multiply ourselves because we know there are more and more people to serve, and we want to do better. And so we want to do that in a way that we invite you to serve with us. So you can physically fill that card out and then put it in the offering boxes on your way out today if you want. There should be pins. We had volunteers come out and set pins in the seat back in front of you. Volunteers put all these cards out this morning, so we so appreciate them for doing that. If you want to fill that card out, you can. If you would rather do the digital way, which I would love you for forever because it saves me time of entering those manually, you can text SERVE to 833-201-7919 when you do that. You'll get a text back immediately, or basically immediately. It's a robot text. You're going to get a text back that says, which one of the 4 areas are you interested in? You will put a number in your text reply, just a number, 1, 2, 3, or 4, corresponding to which one you're interested in. And then you'll get an email later or a text later from the leader of that specific area. And I'm going to go over all that in a minute, but I want to put the heaviest push on, I told Jessica I would today, put the heaviest push on for kids ministry, because that is a growing area at our church, and we don't want to burn any of our volunteers out that serve there so faithfully. So we're wanting to rotate more through and give people more of a break and a breather, and encourage some of you that have never served there before to serve for the first time, because it is such a rewarding area. But I want to show you this fun little video as we take a chance to just kind of think about what that looks like. I came across this. I must have been searching for church volunteer this week. This came up in my algorithm, and I was like ugly cry laughing when I saw this. So I want to share this with you.
One thing I really enjoy, I got to plug in my church no more. That was kind of cool. We started working in the nursery. Y'all remember working in the nursery in church? You gotta do this the best, because these babies cannot run you out if it all goes wrong. You come back after church, I hand you a crying baby. It's like, look, maybe I dropped him, maybe he's a brat. You don't get to judge me. This is the Lord's house. Okay? Stickers on the kids, we check them in church. These big churches do it. We're tagging these kids like they're in the wild. It's weird. Like it's a nature study. Think about some goldfish crackers. We track their movements. My pastor had to explain it to me. John, it's a security thing. It's got the kid's name on the sticker, code at the bottom. Parent gets a piece of paper with that same code. They come back after church and they claim their child like it's a code check or a raffle. Wonderful. And parents lose that piece of paper in my church. I don't know what your policy is at your church, but I'll put that mess in my nursery. You come out of that paper, I'm like, sorry, we're keeping it, okay? He works for Jesus now, all right? You know this! Like, you know me, that's my son, I just dropped him off. I'm like, sir, look, okay? Without the receipt. The best I can do is store credit. Pick up a child with equal morals and values. We can have so many redheads, y'all. It's amazing.
All right. It gets real in Creek, kids. So there's some fun things, and I mentioned last week, the things we get to see, and some of the kids that go through kids and then become teenagers. We have kids that serve in all kinds of different areas. And we have students serving even today in the back and serving with our kids. And so the impact you can make serving kids ministry, I never thought about how much of pay it forward happens until, you see like kids interacting with other kids. and you see our teenagers interacting with our children and our students in ministries, and you just see what a big impact that is. So I want to encourage you to do that. Most of you would rotate through that. If you would like to be in Creek Kids, do work with Jessica, just to let you know, we do a background check on every single one of our folks that will serve with kids, and we pay for that. We pay about $20 a person. It's funny, Jessica found out that hers was out of date, just out of date, like a day, and mine, and Ben's, and so we had to run those this morning. So we were all background checked once again. So we're okay. It gave a clear already. I'm like, yeah, all right. But we pay for that, so you don't pay for the background check, but we background check every single person. We take you through some training, and then some on-the-job training as well. We have nursery, pre-K and K, 1st through 3rd, 4th and 5th grade starting up next week, and we have places there. And the Creek Kids serves primarily on Sunday morning, so you would serve on Sunday morning during that time. Student life is a little bit different. That's our 6th through 12th grade ministry. Meets primarily on Wednesday nights. Does need some additional help, not as intense as Creek Kids needs right now, but there are a couple of spots open there. Again, you get a background check on this one. We run that through a company called Checker, and they run all our background checks for us, and then there's on-the-job training with that, and we have volunteer leaders that would lead that. And we'll have folks are going to have these little labels on. Maybe you saw me with one on earlier, or Ben on with his on. We'll have some labels on during lunch today, and so we invite you to stick around for 5-10 minutes after church. If you have any questions about any of these areas, we have folks from every different one of the areas that will have these badges on that would love to talk to you about those different things. Worship team, that's Ben's area, so he's our director of that, so he can talk to you about tech. Are you clapping for yourself? Are you trying to get the whole crowd to clap with you?
We need everyone.
Okay, all right. Ben can help you if you're interested in any of the music stuff, instruments, vocal, all that stuff, or if you're interested in any tech stuff. Some of our tech is really complex. Some of our tech is like PowerPoint kind of stuff, like clicking stuff, so you could be trained on that if you're interested in that in any way. And then the welcome team is our second largest need, and that is my team, so come work with me, work with me. Doors, greeting people for the first time. I hate it on a Sunday where we have a tech problem like last week and I don't get to visit with everybody, or we get a lot of guests in and I'm visiting and the timer goes off and I have to come up here. And so what you would help me do is help me make sure everybody gets greeted. That's a big thing. Opening doors, you work with the donut area, you work with the coffee. If it's raining, we run out and try to get people in with the big umbrellas. We walk around, we chat up our guests. We want everyone to feel known and seen. And if they have something going on, to let us know about that so we can be praying for them. I try to text every person that at least lets me know that they're here for the first time. I try to text them once throughout the week from my cell phone and say, hey, we're so glad that you were here. So you would be helping me out with that as well. You might text them and say, hey, Todd, thanks for coming to Coffee Creek. Any questions? Things like that. Just things that we want to take very serious about putting out the welcome mat at Coffee Creek. So it's not just opening doors. That is a visible part of what you see, but it's kind of like, the worship team. It's not just about playing the songs in that very time. They do a lot of practice and rehearsal and setup and all that good stuff. So this has a lot of working parts with it, but we would love to have you join us. And I wanted to show you this kind of graphic to help you understand that it's all connected to the same core idea. It's all about hospitality, whether we're making kids feel welcome or students feel welcome or everybody through the front door of the church, or we're working on the worship team. We want them to feel welcome in this space. All of it ties back to this idea of hospitality. And we want people to know, whether it's their first time here or their 1,000th time here, man, we wanted you here. We were waiting for you. We are blessed that you're here. And when you're not here, we miss you. There's not a guilt trip involved in that. There's not pressure involved in that. It's just, hey, we missed you when you were gone, and we're so glad that you're back. And so we want it to be an open door where people are welcome in, and they know that they are missed when they're not here, and they know that when they're here, they were expected. One of my favorite writers, Henry Nouwen, said it like this. He said, hospitality is not to change people, but to offer them space where change can take place. And I think that's ultimately where I want to land today with you, is that it takes a lot of resources, it takes a lot of people, it takes a lot of sweat, blood, and tears and time to make all this happen, but we can do this together. In Romans, Paul said, always be eager to practice hospitality. And that's what I'm asking you to do. Practice this with us. Not just talk about hospitality, but actually live it out. At the end of the day, I believe hospitality changes lives, and I believe you can start that by volunteering. So once again, take out the card, look at the card, think about the card, fill out the card, or text in. If you have any questions, when I pray for us at the end, we'll be able to go over there and have lunch. We're going to have pizza. I see it all stacked up over there, so it's ready to go. We've got tons of pizza. We would love for you to stick around, and we got cookies too. So I'm bribing you with everything I can. Stick around, ask any questions you have, fill those cards out, meet with us, volunteers from every team that is serving all those teams. We would love to talk to you about what it looks like and how you can plug in, all right? Let me pray for you, and then I'll get to our final thing. God, we thank you so much for today. We thank you for this opportunity we've had to just be here in this space and to spend time with each other, praying about these things, thinking about these things. God, I just pray that somebody that maybe for the first time has not ever thought about volunteering before, but now they're hearing this and thinking, you know what, I could do that. I could do one Sunday a month. I could spend that time and give a little bit of that time in order to bless someone else. As I've been blessed, help me to bless others. Maybe I could be like this Matthew Levi, and I could open up a door for someone that would never receive that, would not know God